All right, Jim, first, talk to us about the story of the week that we've seen so far, Lehman Brothers. You know, you've been very critical so far about what's been going on Wall Street, the accounting, all of that. Do you believe, I mean, this is relevant, do you believe that Lehman Brothers is, in fact, in still good shape, that they've got no liquidity problems, or what's your view on this right now?
Well, Betty, I am still short all of the investment banks on Wall Street through the ETF. I know they're all in trouble. I know most of them have phony accounting. And, you know, in bear markets, they all go down to 8. So I just presume they're all going to go to 8 before it's over, before the bear market's over.
Do you believe that we could see another Bear Stearns as we did in March?
Oh, why not? Sure. There's certainly... And I'm also short Citibank, and I'm also short Fannie Mae. So, you know, some of these companies have horrendous balance sheets, and if the bear market has a ways to go, which in my view it does, then you're going to see some really, really low prices. But, Betty, there's nothing unusual about this. Just go back and look at any previous bear market. Financial stocks sell at unbelievably low prices during bear markets. This one's not going to be any different. Well, this one may be a little different because it's going to be worse for the financial companies during this bear market, but because the excesses during the past 5 or 10 years have been so horrendous in the financial community.
You think we're in a bear market. How long do you think it's going to last?
No, I have no idea. You know, I'm not that smart. There are plenty of people you can get on your show who tell you exactly how long it's going to last and what day and how low it's going to go. I'm not that smart.
All right, Jim. So tell us, you have also been very critical of the Fed and Ben Bernanke. I want to ask you first one thing. How do you think the Fed has handled so far what's been going on Wall Street? You think that they've helped situations or actually made things worse?
Made things worse, Betty. They printed huge amounts of money, which has caused great inflation, which has caused the dollar to go down, and the Federal Reserve has taken on something like $400 billion of bad assets onto its balance sheet. Now, you and I, as American taxpayers, are going to have to pay off those debts someday. What's Bernanke going to do? Get in his helicopter and fly around collecting bad debts? Is he going to start repossessing cars, repossessing houses that go bad? I mean, this is insane.
But, you know, to be fair, I mean, you've had others such as Warren Buffett who say the Fed's done the right thing. They came in, they helped stabilize the markets. Why don't you believe that, or why don't you see that?
There's nothing wrong with the bear market. We've been having bear markets since the beginning of time. And if we don't clean out the system soon, Betty, if the system is so fragile that the collapse of the number 5 largest investment banker in America, not in the world, but in America, will bring down the whole system. What's going to happen in a few years when it's the number 2 or the number 3 or 2 or 3 of them at once start going bad? If the system is that fragile, we better clean it out now because the Federal Reserve has already overextended its balance sheet. Betty, the Federal Reserve has $800 billion on its balance sheet. They've already committed $400 billion to bad debts. What are they going to do next? Where are they going to get the money the next time things start going wrong?
Okay, well, given that scenario, Jim, as an investor, where are you going to put your money right now?
Well, I own commodities. I've been buying agriculture. I bought airlines today. I bought a lot of airlines around the world today, both stocks and bonds. Swiss franc, Japanese yen, renminbi. These are a few things I've been buying recently. You
bought airlines? A lot of people are very bearish on the airlines, talking about the fuel costs. Why are you buying airlines?
Well, Betty, you just got through saying why. Everybody's very bearish. No, I don't buy things just because people are bearish, but I fly a lot and the planes are full. You cannot buy a new plane. If you ordered a new plane today, you couldn't get it for several years because Boeing and Airbus have problems. You read every day that the airlines are cutting back their capacity. Fares are going up. I mean, Betty, everybody knows about the fuel cost. Is there any airline left that doesn't know we have fuel problems? You know, they're adjusting for all this.
Well, that's true, but there's also talk about bankruptcies in the airline industry. I mean, you think some could go bankrupt?
How much more bullish news do you want? 24 airlines have gone bankrupt this year. That's great news. You know, 5 out of the 7 largest American airlines went bankrupt during this decade. So, fine, bankruptcies are signs of bottoms, not signs of tops.
All right, Jim, also talk to us about oil. You know, you've been very bullish on oil. We've had a lot of people talk about you and I have had a debate about whether or not there's speculation in the oil markets right now. You say no. Others say yes, like Soros. He says it's in a bubble. What do you know that others don't about the oil markets?
Well, but Betty, there are always speculators in every market. Look at the New York Stock Exchange right now. You think there aren't any speculators down there on the floor of the stock exchange? There are always speculators. That's what business is all about. I submit to you that most of the people, and I don't know about most of the people, I shouldn't say that, but we know that the IEA, the definitive authority on oil has said that the world has an oil problem. The Saudis have told Bush that we have an oil problem. Betty, if there's a lot of oil, please, would somebody tell us where it is so we can all invest in it? The world has a serious oil problem. Now, Betty, that does not mean that oil cannot go down 50%. During this bull market since 1999, oil has gone down twice by 50%. Went down by 50% in 2001 and again in 2000, whatever it was, 5 or 6. So sure, you can have big reactions in any bull market, but that's not the end of the bull market. There is no supply of oil. Unless somebody can tell us where the oil is, the bull market in oil has years to go, despite new corrections which may or may not come.
Staying with oil and commodities, we've seen a pullback in some commodities in recent months, but which commodities do you like right now, Jim, and which don't you like?
Well, I mean, yes, a lot of commodities have come down pretty hard. If people talk about a bubble, I'd like to know what they're talking about. I mean, many commodities, nickel, zinc, lead, are down 50%. Silver's down 80% from its all-time high. Sugar's down 80% from its all-time high. What kind of bubble is that? Cotton's down 40% from its all-time high. You know, coffee's down 60% from its all-time high. I've been buying agriculture recently. I'm holding off a little bit right now because it looks like Congress is determined to do something to drive down commodity prices. If they do, it'll be a fantastic buying opportunity, and I'll buy more.
Jim,
what I bought most recently is more agriculture.
More agriculture? In China, did you buy?
I bought agricultural stocks in China. It's not legal for. I mean, it's almost impossible for foreigners to buy commodities themselves in China.
Okay, also, you know, you've said before that we're halfway through the commodities bull run. You still think that, or, I mean, how long can this bull run last for?
Well, Betty, the number of acres devoted to wheat farming has been declining for 30 years. The inventories of food are the lowest level in 50 or 60 years. We're burning a lot of our agricultural products in fuel tanks now as fuel. That's useless. That's hopeless. Talk about a bubble. That's a bubble. It's crazy that we're spending so much money burning our agricultural products as fuel.
Jim, you know, I want to turn back to, of course, the Fed and the banks and all of that. You know, you were talking before about some of the stocks that you're short on. Are you short on Lehman Brothers?
I'm short the ETF, Betty, the investment bank ETF, which means I'm short all of them. I am not short any specific investment bank. First of all, I have too many friends at all those places. I don't want to short any of them specifically, so I'm just short of the ETF, which means I'm short all of them. I mean, some will do well and some will probably do badly, but the ETF, in my view, is going to go down a lot more.
Well, does what happened with Lehman Brothers over this last week, does it perhaps stoke your interest in shorting Lehman along with Citigroup and Fannie, I believe, is the one you talked about as well? I'm
already short Fannie Mae and Citibank, and I have been for some time. I'm just going to stay with the ETF. It's easier for somebody like me who's too lazy to spend a lot of time on any specific one, except for Citibank and Fannie Mae.
Okay, you've also mentioned, Jim, and of course you're over in Asia, you've mentioned that European Asian banks, they've yet to take off write-offs the way U.S. banks have. When do you expect this could happen, and how much are we talking about?
Well, the accountants, for some reason, in Asia and Europe seem to have gone along with the banks and said, we don't know that these things are bad until they go bad. They're writing them off. Don't get me wrong, they're writing them off. It seems that the American banking system has been a little more proactive and has gone ahead and written down some of these things in advance, and the Europeans and the Asians have not. As they go bad, they will have to write them off. So with the Asians and the Europeans, it's just a question of an ongoing scenario. We'll write them off when they go bad.
All right, Jim, and I got to turn to the dollar very quickly. What do you make of the comments by Bernanke earlier this week, noting the dollar slide? You've been very, very critical of Bernanke on this.
It is astonishing. You know, this is a man that, under oath in Congress, said if the price of the dollar goes down, it doesn't affect most Americans. I almost fell out of my chair when I saw him say that. We know the man doesn't know about markets. We know he doesn't know about the currency. Now we know he doesn't even understand simple economics. So I was astonished to see him, 2 or 3 days ago, suddenly say, well, if the dollar goes down, it affects us all. It's caused inflation. So somebody's been teaching him economics. It's about time you should go back and take Economics 101.
All right, Jim, that's all the time that we have. But great to have you with us on the program. As always, love to have you back on. That was Jim